Welcome to Rainbow Soul Vodcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and LeKross's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at RainbowSoul.show.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul Soulstrology forecast for September 26th until October 2nd. I'm Hollis Taylor.
I'm Bright Hawk.
And I'm LeKross.
And the three of us are going to do our best to bring to you the forecast coming for the upcoming week. And I'm going to invite you to take a moment to take a deep breath. And as you just take this moment of quiet, I'm sure your week maybe has been a little chaotic. So I just want you to just breathe. Let the music just carry you away. Try not to think of anything. Let the music carry away your thoughts. Just clear your mind. Look for the clear skies. So imagine each one of your thoughts in a little cloud. And when you breathe in, all the clouds join up in front of your mind, and then you just blow them out like the wind. Try that again. Thoughts creep back in, because they will. Just let them go. Just let them pass you by. You don't have to stay on it. And if you find yourself on it, just let it go. And just let the tension, just let it fall out of your body. Roll your shoulders back and wiggle your fingers and toes. Feel your feet on the floor or as close to the ground as they can get. And feel yourself connected to the earth and to above. Namaste.
Always good to breathe and center with you, friends.
Right? Some breathing and centering is probably what we all need right about now.
I saw a great bumper sticker today. It said, "Slow yourself down." Really small type. It was kawaii, and I was like, that would be kawaii.
Yeah, when you go to places like Kauai and Hawaii, I found that they were slower.
Yeah, naturally easier flow.
It's kind of relaxing in a way. It's kind of like once you got into the groove, it was like, this is so much easier. Yeah, so, kind of be like that sometimes if you go on vacation or something, hopefully. Some people speed around for their vacations. I like to relax.
Yeah. I guess you try to get so much in one time, in such a little amount of time. You want to just kind of, I want to see this, I want to do that, I want to go here. And
Yeah, the bucket
then you
list.
need a vacation from the vacation.
Oh my. It's always funny for us because we have an Airbnb, so we get to witness people have their vacation. And some people are gone at first thing in the morning before we even get up, and they don't come home till it's dark. And some people are here all the time and never go anywhere. We're like, you didn't go anywhere the whole time? You know, you've been here for 10 days.
Different strokes for different folks.
Guess we all get to do whatever it is we want to do. And that's the beauty of being a unique being as a perfect reflection of the universe. So today's, I want to address that I'm going to be doing the forecast slightly different this time. I hope it still works for you. We love your feedback. Please comment, share, send me an email, say, Hollis, I really liked, please bring it back, and I will. But we're experimenting with different ways to do the forecast. And so this week we're going to do it in a slightly different way. I'm going to share a chart with all of you. This is the first thing we're going to talk about is, first of all, we're going to be talking about from the Monday, September 26th, until October 2nd. So this is, I'm going to say that the last couple of weeks have been, they're not easy right now. Okay. We've all been struggling with a lot of different things, and, we just have to try to get through it and remember that there are bigger lessons to have. Now, a lot of these transitions that you can see on the screen now that I will start reading through if you're just listening, they are just what's happening through the week. And then as we go through, I'll tell you what changes. Because that's when things really happen in astrology. When a planet moves from a sign or in a house or something, then it's sort of what creates that, okay? So first of all, we are having a new moon. We'll be coming out of the new moon. So
the new moon is on Sunday, the 25th. And happy birthday, Libras, and happy new year. I believe that the new moon on the 25th, on September 25th, is also the beginning of the Jewish New Year. Yep. It's the first new moon after equinox.
Yep, it's Rosh Hashanah.
You want to tell us a little bit about what that means?
Rosh Hashanah is, of course, it's a Jewish New Year. It's about celebrating. It's we have lots of apples, honey to remind us of the sweet taste. And then within those 10 days, it's celebration somewhat, and then you come up to Yom Kippur. So Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur kind of go hand in hand. So you're enjoying the new year, but then it's also a time of these 10 days to reflect on what you did the past year, the wrongs you have committed. It's not about beating yourself up, but just being aware, being conscious. And then when you come up to Yom Kippur, it's a day of fasting, which you do it to, kind of purge your body, and kind of make it suffer a little, in light of what you've done during the year. But it's the time when you get forgiveness from Hashem, and you are forgiving in turn. So it's not just getting forgiveness for yourself, but it's also a time for you to forgive whoever has wronged you. So it's like that full circle. So it goes from celebration into, I did wrong, I need to compensate, now back to celebration again, I am forgiven, I forgive you, and it's like a new fresh start. So the Jewish New Year comes with a nice fresh start. So now you have another new year to screw everything up again.
Oh no.
So just I keep that in account. But yeah, and also you end up ending Yom Kippur with a beautiful meal, again, breaking the fast of, celebration. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
That's cool. I've always found interesting and attractive about that is the role the opportunity each person takes to look at their role. Like, what is your role in your family? What is your role in your community? How are you measuring up to what you thought you were going to do? And again, not beating yourself up. What I really liked was the personal accountability.
Yeah.
And saying, you know what? I know you may not remember it, but 3 months ago, I was an asshole and I never apologized, and I really want to make amends and make it right. And I realize now, blah, 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 versus my experience, at any rate, my experience of Catholic confession, going to the priest and doing confession, was it felt like a lot of blah, blah, blah. It was like, come up with something to tell the priest, and then he tells you blah, 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 and then you do a bunch of blah, blah, blahs, and then everything's good.
Yeah.
And it never really felt like it did anything, that it really got you anywhere, or that there was that self-reflection about what is my role and what do I really want to be putting out in the world.
My favorite part of it is the whole point, the process of accountability, of reflection, to be able to go and really dig deep. Because I think that's the biggest problem with some religions. It's easy to go to a priest and you tell him you're sorry, but you didn't make any amends to the person you hurt, despite the fact that you said you're sorry to the priest. Okay,
Exactly.
God may have forgiven you, but that other person didn't. And, you know, and doing harm. And that's the whole thing. And also being able to pick and choose, what can you make restitution for? What are you capable? And also what you're not capable, because sometimes you can't make things right. So that person you hurt may have passed, or maybe that person doesn't want to talk to you now because they were hurt, or whatever, and it's justifiable. But that's where the other part comes in, where somebody hurt me, I can forgive them. So that's their opportunity to forgive me. So it's this nice little give and give.
Yeah.
You know,
I like that. Give and give.
I don't
Yeah.
like give and take. I like give and take. If I got to take it, then you're not giving it. So it's give and give.
Good.
And I think taking personal responsibility is priceless. So I think the world could use some more of that for certain. We can see that in our politics almost every day.
Well, and when I think of Libra, I always think of the symbol of justice and the scales, and of course, who is holding the scales but Ma'at, the Egyptian deity of truth and justice and balance, bringing balance, and that we're, at that moment of, experiencing the last of the harvest, right? The richness and the yumminess and the goodness, and being in balance with what we've been given, right? Like, it's a lot.
Mm.
And then that feeling of the turning, So, Hollis, what have we got in store for us for
So first
week?
of all, Libra season's beginning. So, if you have something that needs to fall away and die, let it fall away and die. Don't hold on to things that are clearly ready to go. We talked about it a little bit last week, that that Venus and Mercury and the Sun are kind of doing a little bit of dance, because Mercury is moving backwards, Venus is moving forward, and the Sun's kind of in the middle of all this. So as a result, the Sun's going to project anything that moves over top of it and make it that much stronger. And Mercury is in retrograde. So, be aware of your computers and your technology and things like that. And with Venus, it's going to be about love and relationships. So if that kind of stuff is going on right now, the best thing to do is just kind of ride it, because the communication isn't going to be super clear right now. So you might want to sit on it instead, review and edit. Okay. The other things that I seen that stood out were that Jupiter is in opposition to the Sun and Venus, at least at the beginning of the week. And Jupiter is about expansion and luck, and can sometimes be about money. It's going to depend on where it is in your chart. So you might want to take a look. Jupiter looks like a number 4. And of course, the sun is just a circle with a dot in the middle. Venus is a circle with a plus sign below it. And so when you find out where all those are in your chart, you'll be able to kind of see where things are happening. And that's where you want to study the house system, okay? And so Jupiter is in opposition to it. So Sun and Venus are conjunct. So this is going to be amplifying relationships and stuff. But Jupiter, so like it could feel like somebody in a relationship is keeping you from growing or keeping you from going or moving forward, okay? Or even maybe ugly, making things ugly instead of beautiful, okay? So if something like that happens, try to be patient, take a deep breath. Give it a minute, okay? Just give it a minute, because everything's going to change. And I always see it that way. I always try to remember that. And the good news is though, although Mars is retrograde and Saturn is going to trine it. So that's kind of good in a way, because it could be a blessing, a way to sort of bring things forward and make it a little bit better somehow. So, you know, you could find yourself with some sort of Mars in retrograde. A lot of us tend to be going to ourselves like, why am I so agitated? Okay. And why am I so frustrated? And you might be finding yourself frustrated because Mars is in retrograde, and hopefully you're asking yourself some questions. And with Saturn, you'll probably get the answer to it quickly. Okay. So Saturn will quickly provide you an answer to your frustration. Okay. And you know, with Uranus has been squaring Saturn and will be for a while. Uranus squaring Saturn is kind of like revolutionary energy, and the system they're challenging each other, which is exactly what we're seeing in our politics, right? Okay. So a whole bunch of people are like, we have to change the way this is done. And that's revolutionary. And the system is going, but we've always done it this way. And so that's going to be a fight. And so you could see that also in your home or school or work. So be aware of that. Now, the other thing that I've seen that I thought to especially psychic people, Neptune is sort of one of the psychic planets, and it's in opposition to Mercury and Venus, and it's squaring Mars. And Mercury and Mars are in retrograde. So I'm going to say take some time to do some self-reflection. Unless, you know, for some reason your Mercury's in retrograde or your Mars is in retrograde, then it would be a good idea to go ahead and present what you have to the world. But if they're not, like most of us, I would just take a minute to do some psychic reflection on thyself rather than focusing. So if you have some time in your schedule to take a little break for psychics and people that are doing more visionary things, you're going to want to pay attention there, okay? Because Mercury and Venus being together are the beauty of being able to speak, okay? Because they're conjunct, they're like in a big pot of soup. And Mars squaring it, which is the god of war, it could feel like right? Okay. And so you just want to be aware of that. And especially you have a vision, this is what you want, you know, or you're having intuitive moments. Don't spend too much time broadcasting your intuitive moments at that time. Okay. So just keep it to yourself for a little bit and then maybe let it out if you can. Hey, but you always got to do what you got to do, right? The good news is for mediums, you know, your business, your psychicness is very tied to Pluto. So you want to be paying attention to where is Pluto in my chart. And Pluto is going to square the moon, yes, but it's going to be trining Mercury, and Venus is going to sextile Neptune. So there could be some sort of beautifulness that comes out for people that are more medium based. So if you can kind of go from, you know, tarot readings to to mediumship, do that. Be connected to your ancestors too. So for those of us that aren't psychics, you may also, Pluto is going to have a relation to your history, to your, like, your roots and stuff, your old ways of doing things. And so speaking about that could be good. And also the visionary around that could also be really, it could be really advantageous. It could be a good thing. Okay. And Pluto is also about transformation. So pay attention to that squaring your emotions, squaring the moon at the beginning of the week, because you might have like some really strong crap that happens, but you'll know the answer. Remember, I told you, you'll know what the answer is. So if you quickly do whatever that answer is, you'll find transformation very quickly. Okay. And that's what a square is all about. It's about it being a challenge, but you'll have the answer if you just follow that answer. Sometimes some of us are a little bit slower on following through with what we know is right. I don't know why, except that, maybe it's about your personal astrology. And our strategies to help what we reflect outwards, will also need to be re-examined. So examine those and then present them to the, just take a minute to review. Just take an hour to review what that strategy that you wanted to do, especially if you're teaching or anything like that. And and there will be, if you stay committed to it, it will reward you. It's going to give you a reward as long as you stay committed. Just review your strategy. And Ceres is going to sextile the moon. And this is very much about motherhood and intuition together. So if you have anything going on with your mom, or you are a mom, be aware that listen to your intuition this week. Okay, listen, especially if you have any kind of things going on with your kids or with anyone else that you are a mother figure to. Okay. And feminist Lilith is going to square the sun and Chiron. So feminists might need to be a little bit careful about the way they're presenting things before they just present them. So just review that kind of thing, especially things around sexuality and feminism and independence. Okay. And the system could make it hard for you to accomplish your goals. So that's Saturn square the nodes. So the system, you just may need to work through the system. So if you can figure out how to make the system work for you, that'll help you get done what you want to do. And the Palace of Fortune is going to be in opposition to Mars. Okay, and the Palace of Fortune is actually going to move around a lot this week. So be aware of that. I currently can't see the last line. Can you see that? Oh my gosh. Palace of Fortune is sextile Saturn and trine Chiron. So that is, no, I can't push the button. Oh, Zoom. Okay, so Palace of Fortune is sextiling Saturn and trining Chiron, which is they're both blessings. And that's actually really good. So anything that has to do with money or manifesting things that are fortunate to you are definitely, the system can help you get that. Just try not to take it for granted, especially things that come to you because of what you offer the world and how you heal the world. Okay, so I'm trying to go through it pretty quickly. So this should be interesting. Okay, now the moon is waning, right?
No,
I mean waxing.
Yes, it's a waxing moon because it's the 25th is a new moon. And of course, on a new moon is when we begin projects or begin our plan for the next 28, 30 days. And so we will be a waxing moon this first week.
Okay.
So the energy is building.
It's building. So we're kind of building towards whatever we want to manifest. Okay. Because the moon is going to move into Scorpio on the 28th.
Wow.
So that tells me that intuition is going to be heightened. So also transformation will come about in that moment. So if you're looking for some sort of transformation or you're trying to change something, the 28th. Okay? You're going to probably start seeing it come up in the 28th. Also be aware of any sharp words you might have to say, especially with Mercury still in retrograde, and then the moon moves into Scorpio. Scorpio can sometimes have a sharp tongue. Okay, so just allow your emotions to be within you and maybe transform them before you speak, because otherwise people will probably hear your agitation. Especially with Mars still over there in Gemini. And Uranus will come into opposition to the moon. So the moon will move in a way that they'll be in opposition. And when that happens, Uranus is going to pull on that revolutionary new way of doing things. And the moon's going to be like, but I'm attached to this way. Because Scorpio is a fixed sign. Okay? And Uranus will also trine Mercury. So if you can master that energy of Uranus and try to really deal with that square, you'll be able to deliver a better message, a more balanced blessing, right? And Pallas, that's Pallas Athena, by the way. Pallas Athena, Juno, and Lilith will all be trining the moon on this day. So,
strategy. Pallas speaks to strategy. Juno speaks to loyalty. Juno is the queen of heaven. So there's a high nobility there in the vibe of Juno. And it's also about like holding up the high standard, right? So you combine a strategy with a high standard, and Lilith, who's the fierce truth teller. I'm going to do it in the way that works for me. You know, that's some powerful energy. And mind the women in your world is what I also see with that.
Try not to take them for granted.
Right. That might be a good message. Honor the women in your world. Show thanks and appreciation. They might need it. They might want it. They might be craving it.
It will be a blessing, particularly for women movements. So if anything's going on in that regards, that could be a blessing regarding that in some, in some way. The moon conjuncting the south node, you may find visits from ghosts, as one person I know says, Anne Ortley actually says that. Yeah. But the south node is really about where you're coming from, okay, where you came from. And it's of course, the south node and the north node are always in opposition together, but the moon's going to be going over the south node. And so when it does that, be aware that could like emotionally or intuitively bring up stuff from the past. Okay.
Right. Exactly. You know, and the nodes, as we know, the lunations, will be coming up to eclipse season. And so, of course, there's an eclipse. We've talked about it before on Election Day, November 6th. Is it the 6th, the 8th? Shit, did I get that right?
I think it's
whatever
in
day
November.
the eclipse was in November.
I think it is the 6th, is Election Day.
Yeah, I should know it, and I'm not 100% certain at this particular moment. But yeah, that's the November forecast. We'll get there when we get there, man.
So the Palace of Fortune. Go ahead, LeKross.
Okay, so if the moon conjuncts the south node, now I'm trying to think, was your past, like where you're coming from, and your north node is the direction you want to go. So if your moon is is in conjunct with the South Node, is it kind of trying to remind you, okay, yes, this is the direction where you're going, but don't forget this? Could it
Right.
possibly be something like that?
For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially since the South Node is in Scorpio. So, South Node in Scorpio is very transformative anyway, and the moon is in Scorpio. So, it's all about transformation and mystery. So, like, you might find yourself revisiting like today, I found myself thinking about the way my father used to deal with stress. And so he would breathe and then he would whistle on while he was out, like that was very funny. And when I was a kid, we used to kind of make fun of him a little bit, but you knew it meant that you probably pissed dad off, right? But the nice thing is that he was transforming. See, he was transforming his frustration into, okay, now I may not kill you, kid. Right? Okay. So
As parents are wont to
right?
do.
No, sometimes kids can get on your nerves. They get on my nerves too, I think that's just what kids do. And I think that's exactly what you said, LeKross. That's exactly what's going to happen. So it's going to be a little bit of a reminder, and you're going to be like, and hopefully it'll help you transform towards your goal. And the North Node is in Taurus, so that'll be very earthy and about what's good for you and what feels better to you, especially what feels better. That's very Taurus.
It's very Taurus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Palace of Fortune is going to square the Sun, Mercury, I misspelled Mercury, and Venus and Jupiter. Okay, so the Palace of Fortune is doing a dance, I noticed this week. And, I'm interested in asteroids and stuff, and I know these are fairly new asteroids. And I'm fascinated by the Palace of Fortune because it is not just about money. It's also about other things that you love or that you feel fortunate when you have. So it could be love, it could be relationships, it could be sex, it could be hanging out with your friends. Okay, it could be a nice new shirt. Okay, so it just depends on who you are. But since it's going to be squaring some things, you might on this day, on the 28th, you might have some. I'm going to let you know that later in the week it will become easier. So if you can wait to get those things, you might find it challenging on the 28th, but those valuable things will come to you easier as the week goes on. Okay, so the week is going to get a little bit easier as we move on. Okay, so it will start out very like, and then kind of start to, especially if you embrace these squares, you figure out how to calm down and manage your emotional state. Okay.
Hey everybody, I'm your host LeKross Ortiz, and this is Little Nuggets. This week's Little Nugget, we start our days and sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're hard, and then by the end of the day you're so exhausted that you kind of just give up. You kind of just get defeated. And it's okay to get there. It's okay to get there, but it's not okay to stay there. You can stay defeated for that evening or that afternoon or whatever, go to bed. But when you wake up the next day, this is a total, entire different day. And you got to go on head on in that perspective. Because if you don't, you're just going to keep carrying everything with you into the next day and into the next day and into the next day. Next thing you know, you have this big ball of just luggage that you don't need to carry. So at the end of the night, yeah, it's okay to be upset. Yeah, it's okay to say I had a bad day or this or that. But you know what? When you go to bed and you wake up, leave it there. Leave it in yesterday. And know that the next day it is something new. It is a new beginning. Okay. So that's today's little nugget. And I'll see you next time.
Yeah. So the moon is actually going to move over that south node on the 29th. Like it's going to like literally move over it. And the Palace of Fortune is going to move into Capricorn. And that's going to really focus in on money, work, and things that are kind of related to that, like freedom around work. Like if you're a person that likes to have freedom about when you can work or how often you work, those kinds of things could start coming into play. Okay. And start, if you see that opportunity, grab it, because here it is, it's passing you by. Now, Venus will move into Libra on that day as well. And Libra is ruled by Venus. So that will make it super strong. Okay. Venus is about love and relationships and beautiful things and beauty. So if you're into beauty and style, that's the day you're going to want to focus on that from the 29th onward, especially like LeKross costuming and things like that. If you were working on a costume, I would wait till the 29th to work on it. Okay, especially as a Libra sun, because then Venus is there to help you make things beautiful. Even if the costume you're making is, Edward Scissorhands, right? Even if it's something dark or something a little bit unusual, it doesn't matter. The beauty of it will come out in that time. Okay. And you'll probably also find more harmony with your relationships. If you've been struggling with this Mercury in retrograde, you might find that it kind of calms down a little bit by the 29th, and you'll be less agitated with your relationships. And on this day is kind of a busy day because the 29th, a lot of things are happening. So it could feel a little mixed up, but most of it is pretty good, especially with Mercury sextiling the moon. Even though you may not be able to speak it out loud, some messages will come to you on how to manage your emotions. So if you've been working on some sort of emotional stuff, you want to embrace that message coming to you. And Mars will square Mercury, though, on that day, which will probably be the biggest challenge of the day. Because there could be moments that someone triggers you, and then you might want to go to war with them. But try not to do that, okay?
There might be more than one way to say it. If the way you said it the first time wasn't heard, maybe take a breath. Maybe think about it from a totally different perspective. And you might try again and might be more successful. Mars square Mercury, that's going to be a communication challenge, and you're going to want to take a minute before when you go to shoot someone else down, you are frequently shooting yourself down, right? So it's really good to pay attention to what your intention is at the end of the day. Is there another way I can say this? Is there another way I could go about this?
Yes. And, Saturn will square the moon on that day too. So the system could also get in the way. The good news is that Saturn will trine Mars. So if you can figure out a way to get the system to work for you, it will help you out. Okay. And your vision, Neptune is about vision, and it's going to trine the moon. So the emotion of your visions will really be amplified in that time, but you may take them for granted. Okay, so try not to. That's the thing I notice about trines. They're so easy. They're such a blessing that we often take them for granted, and we just kind of overlook them. And we only see the hard parts. So I'm just trying to point out the good parts. Okay. And Ceres will square the moon, which is, again, Ceres is motherhood. So mothers and parents out there, if there's some emotional stuff going on with your kids, even adult children, we still struggle with, as parents, with our adult children. This could kind of like maybe you might have to change the way you do mothering or the way you view yourself as a mother. Okay. But if you master that, it will take you to good places. And that's the good news. Okay. So if you master that square, it will take you to a good place. And Lilith will sextile Uranus and trine Neptune. Lilith is revolutionary. Lilith is feminist and Uranus is revolutionary. So that makes me feel good about the feminist movement, and that there could actually be some, like, maybe we figure out a way to fight back against the women's rights that we've recently lost. Okay, maybe something comes up and you may not even know about it because it may be happening behind stage, right? But if there's something in your life around that, or something else in your world about feminist rights or female rights or independence or sexuality, it's going to be blessed, and a revolutionary approach will really help. And it will help sort of manifest your vision of the way you think it should be. Okay. Now the Palace of Fortune, like I said, it does a lot of movement. I'm learning as I'm doing these horoscopes and stuff, is that, first of all, it's going to trine Uranus. So that means if you have a revolutionary way of thinking about the things that bless you, that's going to bring it in for you. Just be aware that it could be a little bit hard to get it done at first, but you'll get it because it's also going to trine your north node and sextile the south node. So that's actually a blessing on both sides, but we tend to take advantage of the trine, but the sextile we usually notice. So, what happened a couple days ago with the Palace of Fortune, with the south node and the north node, now fortune is going to come by there. And so you'll probably find, oh, that transformation I made a couple of days ago is now helping me today. And so that could be actually a real blessing. Okay. So on the 1st, Ceres will move into Virgo, which is again motherhood. And Virgo I really feel like Ceres is at home in Virgo, because Virgo is sort of a mothery, it's the goddess mother zodiac sign, and Ceres is the asteroid of motherhood. Okay. So Ceres is going to move into Virgo, and I feel like she'll be more at home there than she was before. So you may find some ease in mothering for anyone out there that is a parent. You'll have figured it out by October 1st. Okay. You'll have come through what you needed to come through, and you'll be like, I think I got this. And the Palace of Fortune will also move into Aquarius, which could gift the entire, so we were talking about the feminist movement and everything else that's happening right now, and that makes me think about the gifts and the values that will be coming, because Aquarius is very much about the collective. So we could find that the collective is gifted some really beautiful things by October the 1st. And then we'll find out what happened on a couple of days ago in regards to the Palace of Fortune. I said could happen behind stage, right? And Mercury retrograde is going to square the moon and Mars. So you just want to be careful about your emotions on this day. Be careful what you say.
Could be a fighting day.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just be careful, honeys. Really careful.
Yeah, just Mercury retrograde, we all have to be careful what we say, and you don't want to have to make too many apologies.
Right?
As you up to Yom Kippur, but it might work itself out.
Right. But Mercury retrograde will be trining at the same time Uranus and Pluto. So that tells me that something is going to be happening in your heart and in your soul. So even if there is a fight, take a moment to reflect on it. Even if there is like a moment of agitation, go ahead and reflect on it, especially in any kind of revolutionary way, or way that brings transformation, because that's what Pluto's all about. And if you bring that through, it could really help you. So review and edit and just revisit anything that does come up. Make sure you review it. And the moon's going to be in opposition to Mars. So
the moon would be in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is philosophical and bright, happy, shiny, likes to make everybody happy. So, oppositions aren't necessarily challenges, they're balance points between signs. So Sagittarius, across from Sagittarius is Gemini, where Mars is. And so that is fire and air, can be very fast thinking, funny, expressive in a good way.
And the moon's also going to be sextiling Saturn and squaring Neptune. So sextiling Saturn, that's emotions and intuition, maybe up against, maybe in a good way, blessed by the system. So the system may finally figure something out that helps you feel a little bit better, or the system may come through for you by this day, October 1st. And the moon will square Neptune. So still, we're coming back to that. The moon is constantly moving. So the moon is the fastest, and these may be very fast transitions. Okay. And the sun is going to trine the Palace of Fortune. So I feel like that's going to light it up. It's going to light up. So on this day, you are going to probably feel a little on the grateful side. You might be grateful you didn't say whatever you wanted to say to that person earlier that agitated you or something like that, or
be proud of yourself for how good you are. Responsible you are with your communication. You can be really proud of yourself.
Yeah, and Jupiter is going to move into a trine with Lilith, which I actually felt like that could be actually really helpful, because but it would be within. Okay, so if you find yourself reflecting on your own independence, sexuality, feminism, pay attention to that. Take a moment for that and really try to harvest some gratitude for that, because that could be going on for a couple of days there. And the Palace of Fortune squaring the nodes. So here we go. Yeah, here we go again. You could be getting some knocks about fate and be wondering about that. So especially in with ghosts or with things moving forward, trying to move into where you're supposed to be going, like that feeling. There could be a little bit of a challenge, but if you master that challenge, it will end up blessing you. So you just need to honor where you've come from and pay attention to where you're going. Try not to get stuck in the past. And I think this is pretty much done, except that Lilith is going to move into Leo. And I thought that was pretty significant because
wow, there's powerful female energies going on there.
Yeah, it's ever since the ever since the Me Too movement.
For sure. Ever since the Me Too movement, when Venus became exalted and it was like, we will not be silenced.
And that's excellent. And Lilith moving into Leo is going to kind of really stand up on the pedestal and say, you will do what I say. And it's going to be a noble thing. So if you find a woman standing up and speaking out or something like that,
righteous way.
Yeah, it probably will be righteous. And the interesting thing is that the Palace of Fortune will move across Saturn at that time, things, which will conjunct things, which will probably change the way we at least see things or the way the system sees things. Okay, so when I say the system, I mean, not just the system like our government, but also your school system, your house system, including the sacred masculine in your home, whatever that might look like. When I say sacred masculine, I kind of mean kind of like the sun, or in a way where we hold space for all to be. Okay, Saturn in its light is best that way. It wants to hold space for all to be, but we all have to cooperate. It provides the system in which we can all cooperate. Okay, so and sometimes that's just culture. Sometimes it's just culture. So it could just shift our culture into thinking a little bit differently, particularly about women and independence. And the moon's going to come into a square of the sun, Venus, and Jupiter. So when that happens, it could bring a lot of emotion up, especially around beauty and what we think is right and what is good, and where we want to expand. So if we just kind of master that challenge and try to find a way to bring that forward in a good way, maybe using the system in a good way with what we do want, using the system, lifting up that Lilith, it will be easier to master. Okay? So if we allow that woman to take the stage, if you will. Okay? And Pallas Athena could your strategy may not be the greatest in your emotions that day, so be aware of that. And the moon is going to sextile Juno, and the moon will also trine Ceres. So those are good feelings. Those are, so it could be a mixed up day. So you want to pay attention to where moon is in your chart, especially, where is your moon in relation to the moon. And so remember, I said moon was in Scorpio. So
so every month, everybody has a lunar return. At some point, the moon will travel past your sign. It is the fastest one. And so knowing where your moon is, what degrees your moon is, and when there's apps, we both have apps on our phone that keeps track of our moon sign and the phases of the moon.
Mm-hmm. And you want to pay attention if I say moon is in Scorpio, then you want to go find Scorpio on your chart and see what else is in there.
That's
because
right.
It will bring emotionality. It could bring feminine stuff or things that have to do with cycles, but it also will bring emotion, particularly as you're waxing, the emotion builds.
Exactly.
So then that it could be building around something. So you just want to look and say, okay, where's Scorpio? Okay, so the moon's going to move over all of these planets I have here in Scorpio. And what house is that? And you also want to look and see, where is Mars in my or what's in Gemini right now?
Right.
Because Mars is retrograde in Gemini right now. And so if you have anything in Gemini, Mars is moving across it. And so you could find yourself having heightened emotions. I know right now, I have Mars in Gemini. The United States has Mars in Gemini. And I'm right now, I can feel it. And right today, even, and yesterday, and over the weekend, I'm like, oh my God, everything, this culture drives me crazy. And those kinds of things, because Mars tends to bring up agitation. If you're usually agitated at something anyway, it's going to bring it to the surface.
For sure.
Okay. So you want to pay attention to what's in Gemini, what's in Scorpio. You could also take a look and see what's in Taurus and where Taurus is in your chart. And of course, where is Libra? Because the sun is going to be moving there.
There's a lot going on right now in Libra. And of course, we're coming up to eclipse season, and the eclipses we had eclipses in Taurus, and now we're going to have eclipses in Scorpio. So if you have strong Scorpio placements, expect to have the bell ring. And all of this is meant to help you know how to navigate, how to cruise, how to flow with it, know when it's a day to pack an umbrella versus a day to be in warm, tank top and shorts. That's what the weather is about. That's what the soul astrology is sort of hopefully helping you do you to the best of your ability, because you have an idea of how to navigate these waters. Good job, Hollis. You really managed this really well.
Thanks. I'm trying. And we'll still keep experimenting with different ways of doing our report.
Your feedback is priceless that way. If you put in the comments if you like having the charts or if you like the summaries, we're definitely playing with what works for us and what works for you. So
And the other thing I wanted to just point out in your chart is make sure you just look around if you can get your chart on astro.com or whatever like that. There's like a little box chart in the corner, right? That has a bunch of symbols in it. Those are your aspects. And what I've learned about astrology is that although it does matter where Mars is in Gemini and that's a certain energy, what also matters is the aspects, trining, squares, and you can easily find a cheat sheet online. I found a cute little chart that was square is a challenge and this is what it is. And it literally is a little square. So, and you can look at your whole chart there in that little corner thing it's on astro.com. It's a little square, and it will show you a little, little symbols, and you can go, oh, look at all the squares I have. Don't get upset if you have a lot of squares. You know what that means? You're going to become a master of these squares in your natal chart. And the way you will become a master is by being challenged. Just like in all of the, makes me think of karate movies and stuff. What is this movie, LeKross? Right?
Yeah, when you think of the Karate Kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Just wax on, wax off. What am I doing this for? Oh, you'll see.
Right, exactly. And the challenge, the thing that kind of annoys the crap out of you, will eventually hopefully bring a gift. Now, I'll give my example today because I told you I have Mars in Gemini, and it can sometimes make me a little on the agitated side. So when I went to the pool, I didn't go at the good timing. It's a recreational center, and it was time for the older people to do their exercise. And that meant that I couldn't really swim laps, and that was frustrating to me. But I tried to get a little bit of time in, but I noticed I got more and more agitated. My headphones weren't working. I could hear their terrible instruction, and I'm like, oh, and then I could just hear every little thing around me, and I'm like, you know what? My heart rate is up here, is really high because I'm agitated and I'm exercising, and that just made me feel more anxious. And so I took some deep breaths and I got out of there. Just leave. Just walk away. Yeah, my exercise is important. Yes, I need to get back to it because I've taken a break because the pool was closed. But now I'm getting back to it. So I did at least 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Don't let that Virgo perfection stop you from still doing things just because you can't do the whole thing, right? So,
and good on you that you recognized it, because we call that stacking. When one thing stacks on top of another thing that stacks on top of another thing, and now you are ready to blow. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really good moment to self-regulate. That's a really good moment to go, this is not worth it. This is not worth it. The stress, my heart rate, I'm not getting a chance to relax because I don't get a chance to finish my laps, but we're walking away now. It was a really smart move.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to walk away. And, that's kind of some of the messages that I want to just talk about with the soul. And, someone said to me that sometimes I don't, and I know she listens to the show. So, So what she was saying to me is that sometimes when people that I seem to quiet some of my talents and things like that, but that's not because I have low self-esteem. It's actually because what I really want to bring forward is a peaceful side of me, the peacekeeper. I want to help bring peace to the world. I believe in the evolution of humans. I believe that we can become better people. I believe that we can stop having war and stop fighting. And I know it feels impossible right now, and it sometimes feels impossible to me, but I want to always come back to that peaceful side. So I would rather spend more time focusing on bringing peace forward. So I want to encourage you to find out about your destiny, look at your north node. That's what you want to look at in your chart. Look at your north node and see where that's leading you. My north node is in my first house, but it's in Scorpio. So it's very much about transformation. And for me, I also feel very called to peace. And I want inner peace. I want other people to be in peace and harmony with each other, which is very Libra. And so I really appreciate Libra season. So figure out what it is about you, what you want to bring to the world. What do you want to offer the world? We all have something special to bring. And we just have to figure out what that is. And then try to focus on that. Try to focus on what you want to bring to the world right now and how you can get there. It's probably a long journey, friends.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I did want to mention about Libra. I mean, we just came out of like summer, and I always call this is the cool down season. And when you apply that to yourself, this is the cool down. You're coming off the heat, you're coming off the hot, and when you think of summer, I don't know. Some people love summer. Me, I get agitated. I hate the heat. I don't like anything that has to do with the heat. And then it's like it comes now, and here comes Libra season. I'm like, oh, it's cool down time. Now I can take my time. I go slow in the morning. I'm not rushing, and man, I live for this time. This is, to me, best time of the year. Not because it's my birthday, but it's the best time of the year.
It's okay if it is because of your birthday, LeKross.
Yeah, that too.
We like to celebrate you.
Yeah.
And I tend to love Libras. I have lots of Libra friends. My son's a Libra. I like Libras. I usually like your fairness and your balance and your ability to hold harmony in a relationship, because I can meet you there. And with my moon in Libra, I love that. So that makes me like, I can relax. Yeah. So I don't have to get anxious. So that's the beautiful part of Libra. So I'm gonna pull some cards real quick. I got these Love is Love Pride cards, and I'm gonna pull 3 cards. Please, as well as this entire broadcast, take what you like, leave the rest. And remember that some messages are meant for other people and some messages are for you. And it's really just about finding what works for you, okay? And I would never say there's one way to do things. There's like a million ways to do everything, okay? So there's many ways to see things, and there's always a way. I believe that we all have our own way to the light, okay? And some people are meant to walk in darkness for a very long time, or maybe most of their life, and that's okay. I did for a long time. So in the past, I want to talk about the 3 of Pentacles, which if you take a look at this card, you can clearly see that, you can hold it for us, Bright Hawk, that you can clearly see that everybody's kind of giving support, right? It's about it's sort of like the P flag, the way P flag feels to the LGBTQ community, where they're super supportive. They're not necessarily like us, but they're definitely in support. So pay attention and give gratitude for people that have supported you thus far. All of our listeners, that have been listening to Rainbow Soul, thank you for continuing to listen and catching our podcast. We appreciate and love you. And so I also want to say, in your personal life, if you're having any support or anything like that, make sure you say thank you and recognize who has been supportive for you. And also recognize, as we go forward, the people in this. Now, these are drag queens. If you take a look at this is like the Six of Pentacles. It also kind of reminds me of the Golden Girls, which is also very drag, right? Okay, so this is the Six of Pentacles, but this is about the people that stand by you. So be aware of who's standing by you, especially in your performances at work and things that you offer to the world, even if you don't get paid for them. It's more about who's standing at your side, who can celebrate you, and who can be at your side in a good way, in a positive way, in the way you want to present to the world. Okay, and the final card is, as we're going forward, this is the 9. Thank you, Bright Hawk. This is the 9 of Pentacles, and this is about. It's interesting that they're all pentacles. So the 9 of Pentacles is about presenting your gift to the world. It's offering it. It's also kind of a performance. I find it interesting that the present and going forward are cards of performance. It's not about being fake, because not every performance is fake. Some performances I try to come to you with as real as I can in Rainbow Soul, right? And there are other things that are very real, right? And so this is about presenting your gift to the world in whatever way that comes forth, especially in performances and offerings to the world. So this is about offering your gifts to the world going forward. And I find it interesting that it's supported by the 3 drag queens, right, that are holding your hands right now, that are standing at your side right now. But don't be afraid to step out of that. Present your own thing to the world. It doesn't mean you're disrespecting them, because you've already honored them, right? Because hopefully you've already said thank you. Hopefully you've already said thank you for your support. I appreciate it. I'm going to do this thing on my own, but I still appreciate your support, and that means a lot to me, right? So and a person that can't accept that might be sick, and so maybe you need to distance yourself away from them. I just feel the need to say that. If you're wanting to do something on your own and that person is unable to give you the space to do so, or support, like even if they just step back and say, oh, okay, go ahead. If they're not able to do that, then that's probably not a person you want to keep in your life. So just a suggestion to pay attention to that.
Great Maya Angelou saying, when people show you who they are, believe them. So if you're not getting the support you deserve, notice it. Notice who's in your corner and lights you up and makes you feel like you could do anything, and who makes you feel like, I need to get away from you. And honor your own intuition about that. You know what's best for you.
Especially with Venus's dance with Mercury and the Sun right now, relationships are playing a big part in these transitions. Meaning not just relationships like love and romance, but friends and companions and people you work with, or people that you do things with. So just pay attention to those relationships, pay attention to who supports you and who doesn't, and decide who you need on your side and who you don't. And those awarenesses, if they come to you in this coming week with these transits and even that tarot reading, I would definitely be paying attention to that right now. I know that's something I personally am making sure that my relationships, especially my friendships and business relationships and things like that, are coming into balance. I want to see them more balanced. So I'm trying to create more balance, however that needs to happen. So I appreciate all of you. And I want to say that my relationship with the listeners is pretty much big gratitude. I want to say thank you for listening, for sharing, for subscribing, commenting, and sharing this around to the best of your ability. I totally appreciate it.
Yeah, let us know what you think and what you would like more or less of. That's very, very helpful for us. Thank you, Hollis, for your great insights. This is the time of Libra, and I loved how you finished with find what that balance is for you. It can sometimes be as simple as that.
And also remember, walking away isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. Big difference. Big difference.
You're not much help with your best.
Yeah.
All right, my friends, we're signing off, and we hope you have a fantastic week. Ride it through, stay balanced, find your balance. It's there for you to take.
Mm-hmm.
Good night and farewell.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.